All right, come on in, everybody. Welcome back to Tennessee Holler, Facebook, Twitter. We're live everywhere at the TN Holler on Twitter and Facebook. Appreciate you joining us. For those who don't know, who might be fans of Richard's, we are a news site here in Tennessee. We have hollers all over the state. We try to yell the truth, and Richard Ojeda is somebody who yells the truth quite a bit. Richard, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this day of all days. I just kind of want to, before we get into hollering about what happened last night and what's been going on with all these insurrection votes, tell us real quick, what is No Dem Left Behind?
No Dem Left Behind is an organization that tries to find solid Democrats in red rural districts. And then we try to give them the support that they need to be able to flip seats from red to blue. You may be in a red state. Tennessee is a red state, but that doesn't mean that you don't have some phenomenal Democrats in that state that actually could challenge some of these Republicans and actually, flip those seats from red to blue. It's not easy. But, if anybody wants to see those seats flipped back to the blue, then we've got to be willing to put in the groundwork. And that's exactly what No Dem Left Behind is doing. We're trying to put in the groundwork to help people in areas that don't normally get the support that the Democratic Party gives, the candidates. It's easy for the Democratic Party to jump on board with somebody that's running in a blue area that is solid Democrat. Unfortunately, they don't have the same mindset when they're looking in places like Georgia, going against people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Colorado with Lauren Boebert, people like that. Well, that's exactly what we do. So we try to get people to realize how important our mission really is, because it is. Because if we don't do it, nobody will. But make no mistake about it, if you support No Dem Left Behind, you absolutely can help us to be able to do just that.
Seems like a chicken and the egg thing, right? Like they won't jump in and back rural Dems in red states. You're in West Virginia, by the way, that people should know about. But until they start to prime the pump, progress isn't going to be made. So, they need to realize that to invest early is the way to get things turned around. And sometimes it's hard for them to do that because they're always covering their own ass. Does that sound right?
You're absolutely spot on. And of course, we go into the red rural districts and we find a candidate, and that candidate actually flips the seat from red to blue. Make no mistake about it. The Democratic Party is going to go, come on, we're with you wholeheartedly. But where were you when the fight was going on? No Dem Left Behind is willing to go down there and help pick that fight and fight that battle. We really wish that the Democratic Party would look at us and say, your mission is probably one of the most important missions that we have, which is trying to take back some of this area that the Republicans have took. And oh, by the way, you don't have to, a blind person can see how the Republican Party is as two-faced as it gets. The Republican Party don't care about the people of Tennessee. They don't care about the poor people of Tennessee, and that's exactly what are they doing? What are they doing? This infrastructure package that Joe Biden is pushing, the relief package that Joe Biden pushed. How many people in Tennessee got that relief check? How many people in Tennessee claim to be Republicans cashed that relief check? A hell of a lot of them. And at the end of the day, they need to understand that the Republicans didn't want you to get one single red cent, because the Republicans don't care about the people at the bottom. The Republicans care about the people at the top, because those are the people that give them that dark money to be able to continue staying in office. And until we wake people up, until we find good candidates that are solid, that can absolutely connect with the people, and that's the people that we support, then nothing changes. But it definitely needs to change. People in Tennessee are absolutely as poor as the people in West Virginia are. There's places in Tennessee, just like southern West Virginia, where politicians don't even set foot in the area until it's time to run for office. And when they do, they prey on these people. They come in there and they talk about them Democrats are going to take your guns, when they never ever have, and they never ever will. They talk about how important it is for them to fight for every unborn child, but at the end of the day, every one of them have probably, secretly paid for the same damn thing. So yeah, I don't trust none of them.
You seem to be familiar with Scott Desjardins' biography. He's one of our congressmen here who was exposed for paying for an abortion. He's staunchly pro-life, as he calls it. I see Cindy Pack saying neither does the Democrats. You know, Cindy, the checks that are coming because of the Democrats. The federal spending happens because of the Democrats. Not one single Republican voted for that Biden bill. So, you know, there are things you can criticize Democrats for, but these packages and this legislation is being passed because of Democrats. You can't both sides it. That just gives cover to the Republicans who don't actually care, which is what Richard's saying. Richard, people should also know that you're not afraid of a fight. Is that your something's clicking there, but you jumped in to run for president. What made you decide to do that?
Well, you know, I spent, my time running for Congress. And one of the things that I found out when I traveled across this country while I was running for Congress is that the same issues that we have in West Virginia, they have the same daggone issues all over the country. So, you know, why not? How come a person from West Virginia can't throw their hat in the ring and run for president? But I learned a lot of things. And one of the things that I learned is that unless you have political clout and you already have a war chest that is massive, the Democrats don't even want you. You know, we got to change both parties. You know, the Democrats are not perfect. I'm a Democrat, but make no mistake about it. You know, I'm critical on what the Democrat Party does. I'm sick and tired of the Democratic Party right now, basically riding the fence or sitting here and allowing the Republican Party to browbeat them into doing what the Republican Party wants. We have the majority. We control the Senate. We control the House. We control the White House. So why are we sitting here letting these Republicans bully us? You know, I could care less about your filibuster. If you're going to use the filibuster as a weapon, then get rid of the filibuster. Joe Manchin, who happens to be from my state, stop allowing these Republicans to always win while you claim, but we need to have bipartisanship. When the Republicans step up to the plate and try to push bipartisanship, then I'm willing to listen. But until then, they need to shut their pie holes because they ain't done a damn thing for anybody.
Well, I think you're preaching. I see Susie Q says, preach, brother. I think you're saying a lot of things that make sense. Let's go ahead and watch something real quick, and then we're going to talk about the insurrection. This was Representative Tim Ryan talking about the insurrection. I just want to play this.
If the other 90% of our friends on the other side of the aisle, holy cow, incoherence. No idea what you're talking about. You guys chased the former Secretary of State all over the country, spent millions of dollars. We have people scaling the Capitol, hitting the Capitol with lead pipes across the head, and we can't get bipartisanship. What else has to happen in this country? Cops. This is a slap in the face to every rank and file in the United States. If we're going to take on China, if we're going to rebuild the country, if we're going to rebuild climate change, we need two political parties in this country that are both living in reality, and you ain't one of them.
So there's Tim Ryan essentially saying what you're saying. And, you know, to me, it's like everybody should be that pissed off. What did you think when you heard that?
Absolutely. Tim Ryan is a wonderful guy. He's a friend of mine. He was on my podcast not too long ago. He actually come to West Virginia when I was running for Congress and did some events with me. He's a great guy. He is solid and he's spot on correct. You know, I mean, think about that. They pushed like over 10 investigations about Benghazi, you know, and it wasn't about the 4 people that lost their lives. The Republicans did that specifically because they were trying to chip away at Hillary Clinton is what they did. You know, they don't care about these people. If they cared about our people abroad, then they would have been up in arms about the 5 American soldiers that were outnumbered, outgunned, and literally chased down and murdered in Africa. They don't care about that. The Republican Party is the party of the double standard. You know, for them to stand up here right now and claim that January 6th was just a normal day in the park, it is a slap in the face to all of those police officers that fought literally one to the death. You know, it's a slap in their face, but it also shows how little they respect the American people, where the American people sit in front of a television and watched an insurrection take place, watch the violence, watch people, that guy wearing friggin' horns run around the Capitol screaming, watch a man walk with the rebel flag through our Capitol. Those jackaloons right there were scaling the walls when literally 10 feet to their left is a friggin' staircase. You know, the Republicans in Congress are absolutely
good point.
sickening. The fact that they would literally know that America watched that. Every eye in America was on the television when that was going down, and they're still looking people in the face and saying, didn't happen. Didn't happen. If you're a Republican and you saw that, you know that it happened. And those Republican leaders looking you in the face and saying, didn't happen. Was a normal day at the park. Is a slap in your face. They think you are that stupid. And you know what? Sadly, Donald Trump, he convinced a lot of Democrats to think that they are Republicans. And you know what? That's an oxymoron. There's no such thing as poor Republican. That's a fact. And that picture you just showed right there, had people basically saying Civil War on their shirt, but beneath it said January 6, 2021. That right there alone shows you how they knew what they were going to Washington, D.C. for. They were cultivated. Donald Trump spent $50 million basically pushing information to try to fire these people up to get them down there. They knew exactly what they were going to do. They got those people down there. They fired them up on hate speech. They aimed them at the Capitol, and Donald Trump pulled the trigger. And this is absolutely unacceptable. It's a slap in the face. Every single member of Congress that said that it wasn't a big deal should be removed immediately. That's what I want. I want to see the 6 people who gave the tours the day prior. I want to know what they talked about. I want to know who destroyed the panic buttons in certain people's offices. That's what we need to do. That's why the January 6th commission is so important. It don't have nothing to do with all of these jackaloons that are already in jail that are being sentenced, or the 100+ that are getting ready to be arrested. Has nothing to do with them. We already know what they done. We know their crime. It's on video. They're going to go down. The January 6th commission is going to talk about what the people in Congress, what the president of the United States did or did not do. And that is important because we need to know that. I want to know that Donald Trump was sitting watching the TV as it all went down and didn't do nothing. And the only time he finally stepped up and actually opened his pie hole was when somebody looked at him and said, look, man, it's a failed coup, and you need to step up right now and do something, because if you don't, it's going to get worse. And then what did he do? This is the man that pointed everybody at the Capitol and said, we're going to march to the Capitol and I'll be with you. And he never was. But at the end of the day, he comes on and says, to all of you people that are in the Capitol, you are intruders and you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That right there tells you what type of person Donald Trump is, that he would literally fire them all up on hate speech, send them on their way to do his violence for him. And when they failed, he immediately turns his back on them and lets them all fry. And they're going to fry. They're going to fry. And I can't wait.
He also told them he loved them in between. We just had a vote last night. All 7 Tennessee Republicans voted to not have an insurrection commission, which, as you just eloquently put, is completely needed, not to look into what the people who got arrested did, but to look into who put them up to it, who enabled them, who was doing what behind the scenes. All 7 of them did. What would you say to those Congress people who just basically voted to continue a cover-up, which is what it is?
Can I say what I want to say?
Absolutely.
Go fuck yourselves. Go fuck yourselves, every one of you. And oh, by the way, to the people of Tennessee, those 7 members, they actually believe they're banking on the fact that you all are a bunch of friggin' racists. That's exactly what it is. They're banking on the fact that you all are too damn stupid to realize that Donald Trump is not the second coming of Christ. That's what they're banking on. They're banking on that you're going to back them because they're standing up and they're trying to protect Donald Trump. That's what they're banking on. They absolutely know what took place. You know, these are the people that are screaming it was a normal day of the park, but yet they're the ones that were sitting there barricading themselves into the room. You know, these people are the lowest of the low. And the bad part about that is they actually think that the people of Tennessee are that damn stupid that they're going to look at what they saw and say, never happened, never happened. They're banking on the fact that the people in Tennessee are absolutely friggin' hating, you know, as racist as they come, so that they're just going to go ahead and continue supporting Donald Trump, the racist in chief, when he was over there, because Donald Trump hated the same people that they hated. You know, Tennessee is no different than Southern West Virginia. No different. We got the same people around here who believe that, you know, the nicest coffee table covering that you could have is a rebel flag. You know, and it's the same damn bullshit in Tennessee too. And that's exactly what it is. And your elected officials think very little of your intelligence when they would sit here and they would fight to defend a man that literally tried a failed coup, that literally was trying to establish a dictatorship in this country. Don't you dare sit and say that you believe in the Constitution and support this man who basically did everything in his power to obstruct a procedure that absolutely needed to take place, because he failed. He lost. What did Donald Trump do in the 4 years that he was in office? What did he accomplish? What promises did he follow through? Because they were very, very little. And that's how come he lost. He didn't lose because he was cheating. He wouldn't lose because he was cheating. He lost because he didn't save the coal industry. He didn't save the auto industry. He didn't help the farmers. He didn't make Mexico build a wall. You know, Donald Trump is absolutely a train wreck. And the majority of people in this country, if they're smart enough, should have already seen it.
Right. And you know, you mentioned thinking that he's the second coming of Jesus, which even one of the insurrectionists has said, you know, he put Trump above Jesus. And, you know, there's a whole laundry list of things this guy has done.
Yeah.
Stealing from his own charity.
Yeah.
You know, go ahead.
Tennessee's a religious state, right?
Yeah, the most.
Everybody in Tennessee thinks that they walk with the Lord. Tell me something. How can you sit and look at Donald Trump and think that that's the guy that is sent from God?
I'm from New York. He's a New York con man through and through. You know, that's what he is. That's why even his own state can't stand him. You know, but it was a sort of a deal that went both ways. They just felt like they could get what they needed from him, even though that's why they were willing to overlook some stuff.
Imagine how the people of Tennessee would have felt if somebody would have wheeled out a golden Obama. Exactly. They attacked Michelle Obama for wearing
sleeveless shirts.
Dress.
Yeah.
And you can Google any body part of Melania and get a close-up of it. You know, it was the double standard. It was the fact at the end of the day, it come down to, you know, people that hated President Obama didn't hate President Obama because of the policies that he pushed.
No.
They hated President Obama because of the color of his skin. And that right there is still continuing over to Joe Biden, because Joe Biden was the vice president of President Obama. And therefore, you know, the Republicans want to paint him, you know, in that same light.
Right. We're in this tribal place right now, Richard. And what I want to ask you about, you know, as I flash a few of these things, this is Vote Vets called them traitors. And I should mention that you were in the military, also a paratrooper. We also had this that you posted, and, you know, my grandparents were both in concentration camps. They survived. They came here. I wouldn't be there without that. But this is something that I think not a lot of people know, that in 1923, long before the Nazis came to power, Hitler did lead a failed coup that almost succeeded. And then he went to prison for 5 years. He only served 9 months. And then he came out, reorganized, and took power 10 years later, 8 years later, whatever it was. What I want to ask you is, you know, even though this coup for now was held off for the, you know, by the better angels of just a couple of people, how close do you think we are to losing our democracy? You know, it does seem like if a few things had gone differently, which now they've set about doing with these voter suppression laws throughout our country, how close are we to actually losing our democracy?
Well, you know, I think that we were saved. I believe that Donald Trump, and I really believe it's your microphone that's doing this, because I'm not hearing it when I'm talking.
Okay.
I will tell you, I believe that we were saved. I believe that Donald Trump's initial thoughts were that they were going to storm the Capitol, that they were going to get their hands on people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and those folks. And I believe that he thought that they were going to absolutely take those people out. I believe wholeheartedly that was his plan. This was a coup, is what he wanted to do. Now, you have all of these voter suppression bills that are being pushed all across the country, over 250 bills. But at the end of the day, each and every one of those should find themselves in front of the Supreme Court. And I believe that the Supreme Court is going to throw all of those out, because at the end of the day, it is nothing more than voter suppression. And by the way, show me an area where white people live that find themselves during election time wondering, where are we going to vote now? They closed our polling station. No, they don't. They do it to areas of color, and that's exactly the way that it is. Now, I believe that people are waking up. I believe that every day more and more Republicans are realizing that the Republicans in Washington, D.C. are doing nothing but trying to cover up for a madman who, by the way, is getting ready to be hit in the middle of every single major investigation in this country. I believe that we were saved. I believe that if somebody actually had intelligence instead of what Donald Trump has between his two ears, I believe we could have been in some serious trouble. I really do. But luckily, it was Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is not that smart of a man.
Right. So that brings up the question of, what if the next Donald Trump actually isn't the buffoon, right? Like they've now seen the roadmap. They've seen what they can get away with. What if the next one is not a buffoon?
You're right. And that's why right now, that's why this January 6th commission needs to take place. We need to make sure that the people that are in Congress, regardless of Republican or Democrat or independent, they understand what the rules and regulations are, things that they can and cannot do, because that needs to be established. There needs to be protections put in place to keep anything like this from ever happening again. But you're absolutely right. This right here showed us how close we can be to losing everything, our democracy. And all it takes is for the wrong person to fire up the right people to do their bidding. I mean, this could have been devastating. If those people that showed up there all were armed and stormed that Capitol squeezing triggers, it would have been over. We would have literally watched Congress decimated. And then where do we go? Now we have a dictatorship, and we don't want to live under a dictatorship. We don't. And Donald Trump, that's what he wanted. And some of these people in this country that are the poorly educated, and that's who he preys on. And look, I'm not throwing stones at Tennessee. I'm from Southern West Virginia. We're the poorly educated. We're the people that he come down here, put a coal miner's cap on and acted like he was working an invisible shovel. And these people around here was like, oh, he's like baby Jesus. That's exactly how they were. They're the same way in Tennessee. They're the same way in Mississippi. They're the same way in Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, Georgia, South Dakota, or South Carolina. It's the same damn way. Go down to Florida. He's baby Jesus. We got a lot of people in this country that have been failed by the education system that absolutely will fall for anything. Because if you will fall for Donald Trump being a solid leader, if you're going to sit there and wave a flag that has a picture of Donald Trump holding an M60 machine gun and he's ripped, knowing that the guy absolutely sweats butter, give me a break. Give me a break. You're part of the problem, and it is a problem.
Richard, thanks so much for this. I appreciate you joining us. Thanks for your service. Thanks for fighting the good fight. It's always refreshing to hear someone like you this fired up about the issues and on the right side of them. Again, it's No Dem Left Behind. I'm sorry for the audio. I hear it too. But I just want people to know it's No Dem Left Behind is where they can support your fight to get Dems elected in rural parts of the state. We'd love to keep up with you, maybe have you back on down the line. Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, go to nodemleftbehind.com. You can support us there. We also have a petition that I'm asking everybody to go to and everybody to sign. And that petition is basically calling for a January the 6th commission. We need to let the people in Washington, D.C. know that the American people are not going to allow this failed coup to be swept under the rug. It's not going to happen.
All right. Thanks for fighting that. Send me the petition. We'll put it up, and really appreciate you doing this. Richard, stay in touch. I'd love to have you on down the line. We can chop it up about other stuff.
Anytime, brother. Thank you very much.
All right. Everyone. Richard Ojeda, everybody. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's Richard. Sorry for the connection. Now I don't hear it anymore, so I think it might have been going through to his phone. Appreciate you guys jumping on. Richard sweats butter. Yeah, that was fantastic. Richard ran for president. I don't know if you guys remember him. Cindy, I see you saying you were a Democrat. Happy to have you on sometime and talk to you about these issues if you want. But, what you're saying, Candace Owens for president, I mean, I don't know where your head is at here, but it's definitely not in the same place mine is. Everything Richard's saying is spot on. We've been lied to by that president for too long, and he lied to people who attacked our country. And we need a commission. You guys should be hollering at our Republican Congress people. Our senators, too, are up next. They're going to vote against it. The insurrection, the cover-up is still part of the insurrection, and that's what we're seeing right now. And the reason that it's so damaging is because it's going to pave the way for it to happen again. It might not be the same way, but it's going to happen again. We have guys like this dude, I'm forgetting his name, Andrew something, who was a congressman in Georgia, saying it looked like a normal tourist visit, but there he was cowering behind a Secret Service agent. His name was Andrew Clyde. That was his name. A bunch of them have now gone on to say, oh, no, it didn't really happen. What you saw didn't really happen, but we all know it did happen. And this cover up that they're engaging in is really scary. Richard posted this, which I'm flashing again, about the failed coup. It was called the beer hall putsch. And basically he wheeled a machine gun into a beer hall, took a bunch of elected officials hostage, and tried to get them to come on board with his coup. It failed. He went to prison for 9 months, but only 9 months. An armed coup against the country, came out, and then 10 years later took control of the country, and we all saw what happened next. I'm not saying Trump is Hitler. What I am saying is if you don't take threats to your country seriously, you might lose it. And Trump is still a grave threat to this country. The voter suppression laws are absolutely a continuation of the insurrection, no question. There's no question about that. We're seeing them here in our state, even though our state wasn't contested. There's plenty of voter suppression in place in Tennessee. And H.R. 1, which is a federal bill that would require that we have automatic voter registration, it's essential. We need it. So we need to push for that. And even Jim Cooper, who is, by most accounts, not a leftist Democrat, he is for ending the filibuster. So we need to end the filibuster. The filibuster is a relic of Jim Crow era laws, a relic of racism. It was there to keep us from marching forward with the civil rights issue. Almost all of the laws for decades that were filibustered were civil rights laws. We need to get rid of it. We shouldn't be afraid of what they're going to do with it when they get it. We shouldn't be operating out of a place of fear of them, of Republicans, of conservatives. That's not how people should be operating. So, it needs to go away. We need to get back to a place where, we're not a minority rule country. And that's what we've become, a minority rule country. Far fewer people are represented by the 50 Republican senators. Gerrymandering has made it so that politicians pick their voters, and you have fewer and fewer politicians that are able to control the country. So we are a minority rule country. That has been the goal for decades of the Koch brothers, of the Heritage Foundation. Minority rule is what they want. Voter suppression laws, the filibuster, gerrymandering, these are all tools of minority rule, and they need to go away. And so that's my speech about that. We'll be back this afternoon with a man named Dr. Anthony Biglin, who is going to talk about his book, Rebooting Capitalism. It's a good book. It's about basically how we change our incentives in our country to make it so that the policies in place benefit everyone, that they're not all about the corporate bottom line. And he has sort of a way of going about that I want you guys to hear about. Appreciate you guys joining us. Follow Richard. He's a smart guy, Richard Ojeda. He's on Twitter. I think it's at Ojeda #4 America. And we'll see you again at 3 o'clock Central Standard Time today with Dr. Anthony Biglin. Thanks for joining us as always.